So Rick and Morty come out of a portal, and Morty is covered in purple booty juice, complaining that he keeps being on missions where he literally has to be inside assholes. And because Rick knows that Morty's threats to leave are empty, he's like, we're not doing this anymore. Either you're in or out. Pause. Morty apologizes for being a high-maintenance bad bitch and gets Rick a beer like a good girl. And after drinking what looks like 2 cases, Morty's like, you drunk yet? Puts on his eye patch and closes the garage door, to which we hear sounds akin to what you would hear on a cold night in a prison shower. Pirate Morty and Zombie Rick start blasting all the Ricks from other planets while putting the Mortys to sleep. He eventually uses these Mortys to destroy Zombie Rick as soon as he becomes self-aware, and removes his eye patch, disguising himself as just another regular looking Morty. After gaining power and wisdom, he shoots himself into a black hole, finding a planet in another galaxy where portals exist randomly in space for some reason. After seeing the Jetson family get trimmed down by each other and completely swallowed, Morty tricks this 2-headed gem creature into getting sliced up and picks up one crystal, which he takes to his corner of the universe where he owns a perfect dome mansion and tries chilling with his R2 robot, until he realizes Rick is the reason his dome is now malfunctioning. He's fucking up the specific flow of the universe, collecting evil Rick decoys, and evil Morty, for some reason with his eye patch again, pulls up to make Rick look dumb as fuck, pretty much telling him how to improve the computer program he's using to find evil Rick. After listening to Pirate Morty, they collect one decoy that Rick can tell is different from the others. Rick becomes a baby around this Morty that's pretty much sunning him and is sounding smarter than the quote-unquote smartest man in the universe. Regular Morty's attempt to kill the decoy results in the reveal that this was a trap, and they all get sucked into the blackness and end up in a somewhat jail cell with other Ricks. So after getting separated in a game show-like manner into neighboring cages, evil Rick explains that he killed his wife in all universes for a reason he doesn't explain. He offers that one of them get their wife back if they can be the last Rick standing, which they all fall for and start shooting each other. This one Rick is like, I'm the nice one, don't shoot. And evil Morty puts a hole in him faster than a predator in a high school girl. Regular Morty is like, we could have worked together, you dick. To which Rick responds, nah, I'm nice enough to be honest now. I was most definitely gonna kill y'all. Rick and the Mortys work together and finish off Indiana Jones Rick, and despite a robot version of Diane, his wife drops in and is like, you second-eating pussy! And Rick cuts it in half and contains it before it explodes. Their portal guns aren't working, so Rick mods them and evil Morty tweaks them and they get a portal back to the lab, with this black fluid helping him finally find the evil him. Rick is hyped to go out and find him. After feeling some universe space semen, the Mortys show up against his wishes, and Rick's like, what the fuck? Why'd you bring a liability on a mission like this? As they find the actual evil Rick and start fighting hologram robots, we find out that this huge place they're in is the device used to kill all the other Smith families in the universe. The best fight scene of the show starts, and Rick shoots at evil him and gets blocked by some telekinesis shit I thought he was better than, trying to shoot the bullets back at Rick, who turns the nose of the blick back at him and blows half his face off like Aaron Yeager. Then him and evil Morty double team him, and he starts cheating with his final boss defense system. In an exchange that costs them both an arm and a leg, they fight with improvised limbs, having an Inspector Gadget battle until they get fisted by one of the Attack on Titan robots. Shit blows up and evil Rick comes back together like Jimmy Neutron's dog, and is like, nah, hey grandson, this is super weird. Obviously we're trying to finish each other off, telling me this is fucking weird. And Morty does his whole, aw jeez thing. And as he's trying to figure out if they make out before he busts him down, Morty hits him with some shit from his knuckle like, yup, caught you dumbass. I'm the eye patch one, nigga. Pulling a spare eye patch out of his pocket, which he had for some fucking reason, Pirate Morty just starts erasing all evil Rick's backups so he won't be able to revive himself and spawn in some other location after this. Then he pulls the 80% dead Rick into the room and sticks a few things in him to give him some alone time with the man who killed his wife. Evil him talks shit and laughs the whole time he gets his ass beat, and Rick doesn't give a fuck about a thing he's saying cause it's been a long time coming. And once he's done, Morty's like, how does it feel? The same? It always does. And I'm not sure what we're talking about anymore, but evil Morty says fuck off and leave me the hell alone and slips into a portal off to his dome mansion, I'm assuming. Morty talks his ear off all the way home while he stays emotionless, his face unchanging until he makes a joke at that family table where we see that nobody actually gives a fuck about paying attention to Rick's emotions. Morty walks into the garage where Rick is lying on the ground doing raspberries with a beer in hand, and Morty is trying to cash in coupons Rick gave him to go on an adventure of his choosing. Rick's like, there's no way I stamped all these, you straight cat. And Morty's like, I got receipts, bitch. Rick crumples it saying it's all bullshit, and he calls a universe pervert who watches all things at all times. So they go through a few missions where shirts rip people's faces off and wears them like clothes, and another one where they leave this arms dealer for dead because he takes too long to explain what his gun does. Also, where Rick is a leg, and where Morty turns into a boat and gets trapped on an island with his school bullies, and one of them dies from sickness, and then him and Rick just leave the other bully on the island alone. Rick and Morty go to speak alone that this space pervert is corny as hell, making jokes and showing memories that no one fucking asked for. And they decide Rick will honor 70% of the coupons and just pay the space cuck to leave. Space Adam 22 gets butthurt eavesdropping on the convo, and after being paid twice what he was owed, he leaves before returning on their sidewalk outside playing random clips like a game show host, trying to purposely annoy and humiliate them, showing the time Rick tricked Morty to tongue down the nostril of a gorilla Thanos for a bet with other Ricks. He's like, sidewalk's public property, bro, showing a clip where a sky robot is kidnapping all the hot girls on Earth, and Summer's like, I need to know, going outside offering herself, but the robot instead takes their sexy redhead neighbor and leaves her completely safe. Morty gets pissed with it and pushes it into the street to get rammed in the back into pieces, and they would have swept that whole thing under the rug, except that there's a cord of space rocks, showing the clip of it all happening. After the rock lawyer tries to defend them, the prosecutor rock shows the time that Morty has Rick bring a churro to life, and after having fun with his churro friend, Rick tells him that he can't turn him back to a churro now that Morty's done with him. He's pretty much immortal now, and they bring him to a planet with regular churros and just leave him there, creating effectively a new immortal enemy. So, with the remote to their tech they gave him, he shows that they've watched people die, paid people to fight each other, fucked each other's wives, and at that last one, they all start fighting. Rick portals them out of there and agrees to honor Morty's coupons at 75 cents on the dollar. Summer is doing Rick's chores, removing curses from amulets, chopping up space insects, and cleaning shit in exchange for Rick making her an attribute slider to make her buff for a frisbee golf party. Morty comes in complaining that he's been begging for an attribute slider for a long minute, and Rick's like, you gotta clean some shit for me then, and smoke bombs out of there. Morty continues bitching and gets thrown onto Rick, hiding in a garbage bag like a bad magician. At the froth party, Summer's showing off and Morty's hating. Summer turns up the charisma and starts rizzing up the football captain before Morty starts exposing her using a device to be likable. To which Captain Crewcut is like, maybe you should use one too, you're kinda harshing the vibe. And Morty wants to borrow the slider to get buff so that Summer's best friend Trisha will see him take his shirt off and tell other people that Morty's ripped and hot. As he's getting dragged out, he turns up the smarts thing on the slider and takes it for himself, turning up the muscles. And with her new intelligence, Summer does this MacGyver Jimmy Neutron throw to trip Morty on a skateboard in order to embarrass him, and they start tussling, falling into the pool as they rub each other, and Summer comes out the water with Morty inside her. Summer runs home to show Rick her and Morty's creation, and Rick's like, holy shit, you got a Quado, you know, from Total Recall? The psychic mutant? Rick scans her and tells her that he'll fix it in the morning if she goes and does some last minute chores for him, and Morty keeps saying, open your mind. Summer sees this ad for a Quado party, and because her life on Earth is looking shitty, she decides to check it out. Taking an interdimensional taxi to the party, she meets a deep-voiced Quado stud that compliments her hair and runs into a poetic-looking fuckboy who brings her to the table of VIPs into the upstairs section with Jesus Quado named Kenneth pouring her up. They get high and party, and she leaves with F-Boy, who sets her up to get kidnapped and drugged with a needle that leaves a pretty big hole. She wakes up to organ donor marks on her stomach, and she's being rolled into a furnace. The bionic ponytail which she had installed by Rick saves her ass, KOs this dude, which saves the lesbian she met earlier. Rick goes to check on Summer and realizes she's not doing chores. Seeing that she got into a space taxi, he heads off to find her. Summer on some taken shit finds lying asshole again and beats out of him that Morty is getting sold to the highest bidder, and we see that Kenneth has been harvesting Quados like Morty to sell for a while. Rick does this whole cop thing beating up guys for information until he finds out who actually knows where Summer is, and they end up at the same place. where we find out that Summer should have created a psychic link with Morty because that's kind of the whole thing of being a Quado. Soon as Summer opens her mind instead of her legs, she starts hearing Morty in his regular voice. F-boy dude brings her to the building Morty's being kept in, and these psychic dudes blow him up Akira style. Rick scares them off with his own psychic powers, which is actually a fake temple with a high-pitched noisemaker that scares off pussies. They see Morty getting loaded onto a boat, and Rick's like, check this out, jumping through a window with her and landing on his new BBL, showing that this isn't his first Taken. While they're gunfighting, Rick reveals that he makes Summer work for his inventions because he respects her more than Morty, and as she gets groped by one of the goons, she makes him deep throat her hair, and Rick finishes off the last villain. Morty tranquilizes the doctor that carried him down into the boat and climbs away. Summer and Rick blast their way to Kenneth, whose Quado slides off him and creates another Quado out of himself. Morty slams through the ceiling and they have a Quado midget battle, after which the Kenneth Quado pulls out a pocket knife and the spider robot lets off a missile and sonic blasts them through a wall. And then he reveals that there's really one more Quado underneath, and Rick has had enough at this point, hijacking the little spider robot thing and walking the triple Quado midget into the water. Morty says he wanted the spider thing, and Rick's like, oh, okay, here, and jiggles the Quado thing, who wakes up right before he gets jiggled out of it. Morty gets in it trying it out to see if it can jump too. He ultimately uses it in the froth game, getting the win for his school. And after a proposition from Captain Basic to be his Tuesday hookup girl, Summer walks off with Space Dyke, and Morty accidentally lets off one of the missiles from the spider thing again.